Jamie's flashlight flickered as he and his best friend, Alex, made their way down the narrow dirt path through the woods. The moon was hidden behind thick clouds, and without the light, they'd be in complete darkness. The dense trees loomed over them, their branches clawing at the sky like twisted fingers. "This is creepy," Alex muttered, shoving his hands deeper into his jacket pockets. Jamie forced a laugh, trying to keep up his brave face. "It's just a shortcut," he said. "We'll be out in 10 minutes. But as they continued, the forest seemed to press in around them, the silence growing heavier with each step. No wind rustled the leaves, and the usual nighttime chirps and calls were eerily absent. Instead, a strange, distant sound drifted to them, a faint, rhythmic whispering, like a hushed chant. "Did you hear that?" Alex whispered, his voice barely audible. Jamie nodded, feeling his heart pound. "Probably just the wind," he replied, but the words tasted like a lie. The whispering grew louder, closer, but each time they paused to listen, it stopped. As soon as they moved again, it resumed, this time nearer, as though someone was following them, keeping just out of sight. They picked up their pace, their footsteps crunching the fallen leaves. Shadows seemed to shift at the edge of their vision, shapes that vanished whenever they turned to look. The flashlight flickered again, then died completely. "Great," Jamie muttered, shaking it uselessly. He pulled out his phone for light, but a sinking feeling set in when he saw there was no signal. They were alone out here, at least, they thought they were. "Jamie," Alex whispered, his voice quivering. Jamie followed Alex's gaze to the path behind them. In the faint glow of the phone, he saw what Alex had seen, the impression of fresh footprints in the mud, only a few steps behind them. But these footprints didn't belong to either of them, they were larger, clawed, and they sank deep into the earth. "Run," Jamie whispered, barely able to get the word out. Together, they bolted down the path, stumbling in the darkness, the whispering now louder, relentless, like a chant calling to something beyond. Branches clawed at their clothes, their faces, but they didn't dare stop. Jamie glanced back and saw something, or someone, standing in the shadows. Tall, with limbs that seemed too long, its eyes glowed faintly, like smoldering embers. And it was smiling. They pushed forward, but Alex suddenly tripped, tumbling to the ground. Jamie stopped, reaching out to help him up. But Alex's wide eyes weren't focused on him, they were fixed on something behind him, something Jamie could feel was watching him too. Slowly, Jamie turned. The figure stood inches away, its dark, unnatural grin widening, as if pleased they had finally noticed. It raised one long, clawed finger to its lips, gesturing for silence, and then, in a voice that was barely more than a whisper, it said, "You shouldn't have looked back." The last thing Jamie heard as the darkness swallowed him was the chanting, no longer distant, but inside his head, urging him deeper into the woods, where he knew he'd never be seen again.